Welcome back to the deep dive. So you've sent us a really fascinating stack of sources this week, all centered on a pretty specific legal scenario in Costa Rica.
It's all about divorce, but not just any divorce.
Right, specifically litigious divorce, the kind that, ends up in a lawsuit.
The messy kind.
Exactly. And we're going to get into the weeds on the idea of fault, specifically adultery, and what consequences it still carries. So here's the mission for today. Okay, let's unpack this. If getting a divorce now can be super easy, like a no-fault thing, why on earth would anyone go through all the trouble, the expense, the sheer difficulty of legally proving their spouse cheated?
It just seems like, unnecessary legal warfare.
It does, and that's the puzzle.
It's a classic cost-benefit question, really. And we have to be super clear from the start. We're only talking about couples who can't agree. The ones suing each other.
Not the amicable splits.
No. Yeah. And the whole incentive structure has changed, completely over the last 20 years or so. The old reasons for proving fault are almost gone. Almost. But there's this one single financial lever left.
And that's what's driving all of this.
That's the driver.
Okay, so let's start with how easy the other option is. You mentioned the legal landscape shifted. That was around 2020, right? They brought in this incredibly simple reason for divorce.
Incompatibility.
Incompatibility. It sounds so simple. Apparently the bar is just incredibly low now. You can literally just claim you don't understand each other anymore.
Or that your views on life, your taste, your mentality, they've just become impossible to live with as a couple.
And that's enough.
That's it. That's enough to get the divorce.
So if the government is basically handing you this easy, clean exit,
right,
why drag the mess of infidelity into a courtroom? A thing that is, notoriously hard to actually prove with evidence.
Because that easy exit, it only covers the dissolution of the marriage itself. It doesn't automatically settle all the financial obligations that might come after.
Ah, okay.
And if you want to get out of those obligations or, penalize the other spouse financially, you have to go down that old fault-based road. The whole game changes if one of you is officially declared the guilty party.
Okay. That makes sense. It points us to the history of this, which I think is key. Because the consequences for adultery, they used to be, they were devastating.
Oh, truly devastating. We're talking about total financial ruin.
And there were two big penalties.
Two huge ones. First, if you were the guilty party, you lost the right to ask for any alimony, any kind of ongoing financial support from your spouse. Gone.
Okay, that's big. What was the second one?
The second one was the real killer. You lost your right to a division of the marital assets.
Wait, hold on. You lost your entire share of the property, the 50% split of everything you acquired during the marriage?
Precisely. You're 50%. Gone. And we should probably define what marital assets means here because it's specific. In this context, it's anything acquired by prize during the marriage.
Acquired by prize? That sounds like you won the lottery or something.
It does, but it's a legal term. It basically means anything that was actively bought or earned. So not things you got passively, like a gift from your parents or an inheritance.
Or I guess an actual lottery win.
Right. It's the value the two of you created together. The house you bought, the savings you built up. And historically, if you were found guilty of adultery, you lost your claim to all of it.
Okay, if that were still the case today, then this deep dive would be about 2 minutes long. The incentive would be crystal clear.
Absolutely. But that's where the law started to evolve.
What's fascinating here is how that started to change.
It is. Around 1997, the legislature started to look at this differently. They began to separate the idea of marital assets from spousal behavior.
And this wasn't just a vibe shift, there were actual court rulings.
Big ones. The process really culminated with a landmark ruling from the Constitutional Court in 2001.
And the result of all that?
The end result was that the state basically said, look, these marital assets, this value you acquired by prize.
The joint property.
That's joint property. It should be split 50-50, regardless of who caused the marriage to fail.
Yeah.
So even if you committed adultery, you no longer lose your right to that distribution. You get your half of the house, the savings, all of it.
Okay, stop right there. If the guilty spouse still gets half the house, half the savings, if all the assets are protected,
right,
then why are we even talking about this? Why spend a single cent trying to prove fault? It seems completely pointless now. What is left?
And that right there is the core takeaway for you today. After all those changes, there is only one major financial consequence left for the person found guilty of adultery.
It's just one.
Just one. You lose the right to request alimony. ongoing financial support from the other party.
So it all comes down to alimony.
It all comes down to alimony. And this isn't just an old rule left on the books. The Constitutional Court just recently upheld this very structure. They basically affirmed that, yes, the marriage can end for simple incompatibility. But if infidelity is proven,
Then what?
then the guilty spouse's claim to future support is invalidated. It's gone.
Yeah.
And that single fact, that one detail, is what makes people decide to go to war in court over fault.
So if I'm the one filing for divorce, the only reason I'm going to spend all this time and money to prove my spouse cheated is just to make sure I never have to pay them support.
Exactly. It's a purely preventative move. It's about your future cash flow.
It's all about leveraging this duty of fidelity.
A duty which, in Costa Rica, is an absolute requirement for as long as you are legally married.
And this is where the law gets really, really strict in a way that I think would surprise a lot of people.
It would.
Because that duty of fidelity, it lasts until the final divorce decree is issued, which means adultery could happen even after a couple has been separated, living apart for years.
That's the critical point. As long as you are legally married on paper, you are bound by that duty.
So you could be separated for, say, 5 years. You start a new relationship. But because the divorce isn't final.
Legally speaking, you're committing adultery.
Yeah.
And you're risking your right to ever ask for financial support from your spouse.
Wow. That's a huge difference from a lot of other places. I mean, it seems especially important for anyone who's moved to Costa Rica from somewhere else.
Oh, absolutely. The contrast is stark.
Yeah.
If you, for example, compare this to Canadian law, the whole approach is fundamentally different.
How so?
Well, in Canada, fault just. It almost never matters in the financials. Adultery generally doesn't affect the division of assets, and it usually doesn't affect alimony either. The courts there just look at financial need and the ability to pay.
And what about the whole separation thing?
That's also completely different. In Canadian law, once you're physically separated, the spousal relationship is often seen as functionally over. Starting a new relationship after that is generally not considered adultery in a way that would have any financial penalty.
So for anyone navigating this in Costa Rica, the key is to understand that the entire financial battleground post-2001 is about spousal support.
And that battleground stays active until the very last document is signed. Proving adultery is simply the tool you use to shut down any future claim for alimony.
That is the ultimate conclusion then. The Constitutional Court drew this really bright line in the sand.
A very clear line. Assets are a joint venture. You built them together, you split them, no matter who's at fault. But financial support, that hinges on you upholding your duties, especially fidelity, until the legal end. Incompatibility might break the marriage, but infidelity breaks your right to get paid.
And that's our aha moment. Proving adultery isn't about punishment by taking away assets anymore. It's about inoculating yourself against future spousal support claims. It ensures a clean financial break.
That's it in a nutshell.
Which leaves us with a final, I think, very provocative thought for you to chew on. Given that this duty of fidelity lasts until the marriage is legally over, what does this really mean for all those couples, especially expats, who choose a long-term informal separation instead of a formal divorce? You might save a lot on legal fees in the short run, but you are carrying that obligation of fidelity and the potential threat of losing alimony indefinitely. That is a very long shadow cast by an unfiled divorce petition.